there and welcome to this new lecture. In this lecture I'll show you how to set up Python in your computer. Specifically, these instructions are for Windows users, so if you are a Mac or a Linux user you can skip this lecture. You can go to the next lecture where I'll show you how to set up Python on a Mac, and the instructions also work for Linux users. So for Windows users, please follow if you haven't installed Python yet. We're going to download and install Python and also try Python out. And so you go to python.org, that's the official Python website, and you go to downloads, and here you'll see the latest Python version. Currently this is 3.6.0. Just click that and save file. You also notice that there's also a version Python 2, so Python 2.7 to be exact. But Python 2 is not being supported anymore after 2020. So Python 2 is slowly retiring. So it's advisable to use Python 3. This one in here. Once you have downloaded the .exe file, just click it. Run. You can choose to install it in the default directory, but you can also do a customized installation if you want to change the directory. Anyway, make sure you have checked this option, add Python 3.6 to path. So I'm gonna go with the default installation process. And yeah, that was it. Setup was successful. You can close the window now, and we can go ahead and open Python. So how do we do that in on Windows? Well, you can press the Windows key button. So we're talking about the Win key. By pressing it, you will be able to search on the Start button. Alternatively, you can simply go to the Start button, click it, and then type cmd. And then click on cmd.exe, and that will open the Windows command prompt. And so this is like the terminal on Mac or Linux. On Mac and Linux it is referred to as the terminal. On Windows it is referred to as the command prompt or the command line. To open Python, all you have to do is type in Python, and that will open an interactive session of Python. And an interactive session is best for testing out. So here you can write lines of code one by one like that, and you promptly get the results in here. So this is why we call it interactive. But you cannot, it's not very appropriate to write multiple lines of code. So let's say you have a program that has 10 lines of code, and in that case you'd want to write those lines in a file, in a Python file, but we will cover that later. This is the interactive shell. This is good for testing. So before you do a program, you are not sure about certain aspects, certain commands that you want to include, certain keywords that you want to include in your program, so you test things out in here very quickly. This is very efficient, and it's also good for learning. To exit the interactive shell, you'd press exit and brackets, open and closing brackets. Now, something you probably noted was that the Python that I opened was version 3.5.2. But why is that? Because I installed Python 3.6 in here, 3.6. So why did I get Python 3.5.2? Well, the answer is that I already had Python 3.5.2 installed on my Windows. So in other words, before I installed Python 3.6, I could trigger a Python shell like that. So the question is, how do I run Python 3.6 now? Well, the first thing you should know is that there's no problem having multiple Python installations in your system. The key here is that you have to assign different commands to each of your Python installations. So for instance, Python 3.5.2 has these commands to run Python. Now for Python 3.6 we need to assign another command, and I'll go and search for the installation directory of Python 3.6. so open that, and now Windows, when you search for Python, when you enter the Python command here, Windows is looking at the path variable, the Windows path variable, and it's searching for this type of command Python, but this was already occupied by another, so by Python 3.5.2. that's why it triggers Python 3.5.2. So in that case you may want to do a trick here. Let's say do Python 36 and restart the command prompt, and then run again Python 36, and you get Python 36. So that's a trick. And again, of course, you can do operations here and so on. Of course, you still have Python 3.5. At least I have Python 3.5. Maybe you don't, because you didn't have any Python installed just yet. So that's the idea. On your system, if you install Python for the first time, if you install Python 3.4.6, you'll be able to execute Python with this command, Python. If you had an existing Python installation and you install a new one, no problem, you can run Python 36 like I did. I hope this was clear, and I hope you are up and running now with Python, and I'll talk to you in the next lectures.